Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Sebastian Scale Show. Last weekend, I took LSD with Galen, and it was, just try wrapping that up into a word or words of any kind. Magic would be probably the closest, but more like magic that is, it's just remembering magic. Remembering the magic that's constantly going on. Remembering who we are beyond the current experience that we're having. It's really cool too because a lot of the psychedelic experience is more present in sober reality now. Like before we took acid, we were both having these experiences that felt like, sometimes when you're tripping, you can, like things will start moving. Like it looks like everything is moving. And I think part of that is because you're just perceiving the aliveness of everything, things that we normally consider to be inanimate. It's like those are molecules, they're vibrating at different frequencies and they're quote unquote stationary, but really they're there. And because they're there, they're moving because they are atoms and all atoms are moving. So who knows? But we both noticed that the night before and the day of, prior to taking the acid, we were starting to have very acidy experiences. And I think a big part of that is because our minds know what's coming. But I think the main thing, and this is what I've noticed a lot in the last year, is the psychedelic experience feels like it's just not that different. I mean, it's like so intense and, everything is, you see things everything looks amazing and all this great stuff. But, synchronicities are so psychedelic. The feelings associated with seeing the unfolding of the universe and how brilliantly intertwined everything is it's, in some ways, that's more intense than psychedelics. But it's nice having the two experiences merge because it feels like there isn't really a come down period so much as just like, normally when you trip, it's like, I feel like I'm trying to think of all this stuff that I need to remember and integrate back into my sober reality. But now it seems like they're merging in a way that's just, it's all just one giant remembering of who we are. And you certainly do not have to trip to remember that. I think it's just because of how amazing it is being sober now that even that it's like you take acid and that's great. And then you're sober and that's great. I'm like, I have absolutely no urge to do anything drug wise or anything right now. You would think after taking a drug that makes you feel that way, you would be like, oh my God, I got to do that all the time. But it's really not. It really just, I think it enhances sober reality. Not that it needs enhancing, but anyway, I did take some notes on acid that I wanted to share because there were a number of moments that hit me so hard. I think, well, Galen was having a lot of emotions come up, lots of suppressed emotions, suppressed memories. And it was so cool. It was so amazing watching her work through this stuff. And I had a moment where we were sitting on my bed together, and we weren't touching. She was close to me, but we weren't touching each other. And she was crying super hard. Sounds like an awesome experience, right? Well, it was. It's just funny because conventionally you think of, oh man, I took something and it made me cry a ton. You would think that that was a bad experience. But as we know, you know, crying is the best. It is so, it's such a funny thing to have resisted for so long and now to be allowing it. And it's like, this is absolutely fantastic. It's the way, I don't know. It's like the most natural thing ever. I mean, it's all natural, but like, it's just the allowing of feeling, which feels amazing, regardless of what it is that you're allowing. So she was having a bunch of stuff come up, and I remember watching her process this emotion and thinking to myself, I feel closer to you right now than, whoa. My friend who I have also taken psychedelics with just texted me, and she said, I feel like I'm so close to quitting my job. I can't stand it. I feel like I'm crawling out of my skin. So this is somebody who is has discovered a totally new passion. I mean, she's known about it for a long time, doing qigong and energy work, but she's now really realizing that this is something she can fully do. And it's so in line with who she really is and her passions and everything. And as you allow more feelings and get in touch with who you really are, you really figure out what it is that you want and why you want it. And the things that are out of alignment with who you really are become so much more difficult to continue to do, which is great. This is how I felt when I was working at IBM in New York, and I had just started doing stand-up, and I was like, I feel like every second I spend here is suppressing the expansion of my soul and just fucking, so brutal. And then you get out of it eventually. And I think it gets harder and harder because your soul knows what it is that you need is more for you, more aligned with you. So anyway, keep following that. And okay, so sitting next to Galen, and I remember feeling like I am closer to you now than I could even be if I touched you. It was like I was so aware of our energy and, you know, the science behind the vibration that we all emit and our heart space and how it can expand to 9 feet outside of our body. And the more you feel love, the bigger your vibration is. And the more you feel fear, the smaller your vibration is. And all these interesting energetic things that, well, thing isn't the right word, but energetic awareness that is becoming more a part of my experience. It felt like I was next to her on a plane that was so much closer than physical reality, where, you know, it's conventionally, if somebody's bawling right next to you, it would be like, oh, I'm so sorry, it's going to be okay, consoling them and hugging them and stuff. And I was literally just watching her cry in amazement, in awe of this being allowing these deeply suppressed memories and emotions to come up. And I felt like because there's also a part of my overthinking brain that would be like, oh no, is she going to think that I'm being a bad boyfriend, or is she going to be upset with me for blah, you know, whatever. And it didn't even pop into my brain because it felt like I knew that she knew that hey, I'm right here with you. And that was so cool. And it just felt like, yeah, I don't know, it felt amazing. So that was the first thing. And I you know, normally you feel such a wild range of emotion on acid and mushrooms or whatever psychedelic it is that you're taking. It feels like a very helpful tool in loosening a lot of really tightly, heavily suppressed things. it can help uproot a lot of these deeply rooted beliefs and different things. And it really shows you what it is that you need to see and feel. So it was so good. And we set intentions for the trip, and the intention that I set was my intention was to love every part of myself. Something that I've been doing, like talking to the mirror and things like that, where I'm rather than being upset with the part of myself that overthinks and being ashamed of the part of myself that isn't at where I think I need to be at in terms of conventional success metrics, the part of me that thinks is it self-conscious about my dry skin around my nose, all these things that I have for so long battled with internally and have not wanted to show or be seen by the world. I wanted to love every part of myself because it's more fun, and because I think it's very clear that the way to heal is not through hate or shame or these negative things. It's like the heart space, the loving vibration of the heart space. The more love you feel, the more all of this darkness, insecurity. I mean, there's such negative vibrations, and I want it to just all be engulfed with love. So that was the intention. And later on in the trip, there was a moment where Galen was in the bathroom and I was standing in the living room, and I like, for some reason, I just had like just sort of a wave of feeling like my younger self was in the space. And it felt like I was really connected, maybe in the same way that I felt connected with Galen without having to touch her. It felt like I was really connected with the energy of my younger self. And also the energy of like my higher self. It felt like there was this merging of the different isn't even the right word, the parts of myself that existed at different times. But how do I describe this? All of the parts of myself. It was like I was feeling all of the versions of myself simultaneously. And I closed my eyes and I started, I felt like I was levitating. And I put my arms like at like slightly out in front of me, and it felt like my whole body was floating and just, intensely light and safe and secure and loved and allowed. It felt like I was allowing myself, my younger self, and all these different parts of myself to be here in this moment and to experience these sensations. And then I had this, it felt like this dark, gloomy cloud like zoomed into my awareness, and it came from the right side of spatially, and it was because the in my living room I have a window that like a sliding glass door that goes out to a balcony, and it's pretty low to the ground, and people can see in if they're across the street. And the window it wasn't open, but there were no blinds closed. People could see in theoretically. And I felt this really intense judgment cloud swoop in. And the contrast was so extreme from this blissful, self-loving integration sequence to what felt like, I don't know if opposite is the right word, but it just felt like deep negativity and shame and fear of judgment, fear of being seen. It was just so much fear. And I still had my eyes closed, and I realized what was happening. And I was like, oh, dude, it's fear of being seen. It's fear of being perceived. And then I'm like, wait a second, I'm in my living room. I could fucking, like, dude, I'm just standing here with I know that I feel like I'm levitating and all this stuff, but why would I ever sacrifice that feeling, this blissful sequence, out of what somebody who I don't even know, or even if I did know, who cares, somebody across the street might think? First of all, how do I even know that they're mad? Like, I'm just, and that's the thing, is it's like, obviously nothing had happened. I don't even know if anyone's there. But it's just the conceptual fear of being judged. I could be being seen right now in a way that may not be ideal from my thinking mind's perspective. Fucking, I'm just standing in my living room with my arms out. Why is that? What is so bad about that? I don't know. And I don't think that it's really that particular thing that is scary. It's just the general fear of being perceived, which happens to what the fear latched onto in that moment was that potential type of perception that, no confirmation of. And obviously, no matter how many people see me standing in my living room with my arms out, everything's fine. They're not going to throw a rock through the window and fucking climb up the balcony and stab me. Whatever I think is going to happen. I actually, you know what it was? I imagined somebody taking a video of me standing there with my arms out. That's what popped into my head, which is so funny too. Like the egoic audacity to assume that that's even interesting to fucking for people to see. Like, what kind of nutcase would be like on the street recording some dude in his living room doing that? And even if he did, it would be fine. But it's just so funny to think that what I'm doing is so shameful, and so it would be so brutally embarrassing if people did record this and put it out onto the internet. But it's so silly when you say it out loud. There's absolutely no problem with that at all. I could go out into the middle of the street and just stand there and close my eyes with my arms out. Like, everything would be fine, dude. But in that moment, it was so helpful to experience the contrast and to really feel like, oh my gosh, this is a weight that I'm carrying around. Just at a moment's notice, the susceptibility to shift out of love into fear it can happen so quickly. And the feeling difference was so constricting. And such a, what a fear-based reality to be operating out of. I feel it. I can literally feel it right now in my chest. And it was so great, because I think that sometimes, we need that contrast in order to help us figure out what it is that needs to change, what we need to release. Just like my friend with her job, if it wasn't that extreme of a difference at her regular job, the urge to go do this passion work wouldn't be as extreme as it needs to be potentially. Like, if I just liked IBM or didn't mind it, I wouldn't have gotten out of there so quickly. So, contrast is good. It's often very uncomfortable, but it's great. And that experience was, it made me want to release the fear of being seen forever. Because I know conceptually that fear of being seen does not serve me anymore. Maybe it never did. At a certain point, it was just like, I'm so scared of being perceived, probably because of the trial and everyone knowing about the molestation and then just general traumas of the human experience. But I knew that I did not want that to be the focus. I don't even want that in my awareness anymore. I don't want that as a part of my experience. But how do we do that? Love. You love the part of yourself that's afraid of being seen. And you love them unconditionally, no matter how many people see you and perceive you, and no matter what it is that they see, you are loved, and you're enough, and you're safe, and everything's okay. And I started feeling like, this, it's going to sound silly, but the connection with the walls. I say the walls because it's like when you're tripping, it's like that's one of the big things that starts moving around. But in the way that we are the universe, we are the universe perceiving the universe itself. We're already infinitely perceived. We're perceived so much more deeply than the person who's walking by the street that looks in the window and sees me levitating. We're perceived in the way that, well, I don't know. We are perceived. How could we not be perceived infinitely? As the universe, anything that we are aware of as the universe is the universe being aware of. So if the universe is aware of itself, the universe as me sees myself. So why am I afraid of other parts of myself seeing myself? All that is highlighting that there's parts of me that don't feel safe being seen. And all I have to do to fix that issue, I mean, issue isn't the right word, but to fix that situation is to love and allow myself to be seen by myself. To allow myself to experience the loving integration of all of myself without any fear of being seen by myself. Because that's what everyone else is anyway. We're all just the universe walking around levitating. So we have the tools within ourselves to solve all of the issues that we have. And that feeling of like, oh, I'm already seen. I think egoically that I'm controlling how I'm seen, and that's the mask that we put on, and the way that we curate ourselves to try to create a successful avatar and appropriately perceived by the world around us. That attempt really is incredibly futile, because we have no control over the perceptions of anyone else. Everyone perceives us in their own way from their own experiences and everything. But what a relief to know that we're already seen. It's already here. It's already done. Like something about that really clicked in my head, because it was like, oh, I'm fighting a battle that's already over. I think that I'm maintaining this veil around my personality and my tendencies and all these things that I'm ashamed of or whatever. But really, it's already seen. It's already known by everything. And not in the way that's like, okay, if people just walked by my apartment, didn't see me in there, they know that I'm levitating in there. Not like that, but from the level of consciousness, of souls, of the one consciousness that we all stem from, we are known. All of our insecurities, all of it, it's all known already. And what a relief to stop fighting. To let the veil come down, to put down the mask, and to really embrace the fact that even if everyone on earth even if everyone in the history of existence and into the future stood outside of my window and watched me feel the experience of what felt like levitation, everything's okay. I'm still safe. I'm still loved. Even if everyone, all of those people hated me, I still can create the experience of love internally. And that's where the solution lies. It's in the love that you give yourself. Because that love is infinite. And you're not reliant on anyone else to provide you with love. And when you're loving yourself that much, it pours out, one in the sense of the heart vibration expanding out of your body, but also just, what an impact you have on what a ripple you create through the universe, the vibrational universe, the vibration of ripples. All vibrations are ripples. What a loving ripple you send through the fabric of reality by loving yourself. So anyway, that sequence eventually culminated in what felt like a loving sort of diffusing of this fear cloud. It's sort of like in Harry Potter when he's doing Expecto Patronum on the Dementors. It's like that, but instead of pushing them away, it's like dissolving the Dementors and loving the Dementors and allowing the Dementors to let down their fear-based operating systems or whatever, It just felt like the cloud dissolved and what was behind it was just a sky full of love that is always there, always surrounding you. And so that was amazing. Oh, yes. Okay, so what else was there? Oh, yeah. Bring into your awareness what you're afraid of being seen and allow it to exist in awareness. And awareness just takes care of all of it, really. Super cool. Younger and higher self. Yes. Oh, and that was also so in line with the intention. It was like, I love every part of myself. Okay, fantastic. That's what that felt like. Then the cloud came in and then it was like, okay, there's part of myself that is afraid of being seen, or parts of myself. And it was like, okay, let's love all of us, me, whatever, however you want to classify it. Just let's love. And yeah, that was epic. So then later on, we were talking about, Galen was saying how she was like, she did all this processing and she feels like there's still so much more. And we came up with this phrase that was like, she was saying like, oh man, do I have to go in there? Do I have to go into that space? It feels like I cried so much and I was just scratching the surface. It felt overwhelming. And we thought of this phrase where it's like, yes, of course you'd go in there because resistance is the root. Root in terms of ROOT, it is resistance is the root of the suffering. And also the root, ROUTE. The way, resistance is also the root. The root to the roots is resistance. And it was it's a fun way to think about it because that anytime you're feeling resistance, that's literally you showing yourself where you need to go in order to feel lighter, in order to release, in order to experience more love. So, yeah, and then I had this moment where I was sitting on the floor and Galen was sitting on a chair, and I was thinking about how she went into this space, and it literally at times earlier that day, it felt like I was watching her. Like she looked like this, you know, sage that was like transcending time and space. Like at some points she looked like an elderly woman, and at some points she looked like a young girl. And it was like this, and it's actually so similar to what was happening with me when I was levitating. I think, because it was like, wow, I feel like I'm all parts of me right now. And it is all parts of you right now, because that's still you. It was you then. When it was you then, it was now. Our younger selves were always our younger selves now, and it's still now. So there isn't a moment where you're not your younger self. It's just, and your older self too. It's all now. So anyway, when she was talking about this fear of going into these places, I had this moment where I paused for a long time, and then I thought, and what I said to her was, you know that you can go in there, you can go to those places, because it wouldn't have happened to you if you couldn't handle it. Whatever it is that's happened to you, it wouldn't have happened to you if you couldn't handle it. And you must go back there, because it's for the evolution of your soul. And something about that phrase, like, you know that you can go back there because it's for you, it's for your growth, it's for your expansion. Knowing that what happens to us is for the evolution of our soul. It just, dude, something clicked in my head, and I just absolutely started bawling. And not in any sort of negative way. It was like totally unresisted emotion and recognition of that's really how I feel. That everything it is that we go through is for us. And anyone can feel this way. If you can feel this way about molestation, you can certainly feel this way about other types of trauma. And that's how I feel about it. And the feelings associated with knowing that this is all for you, it feels like it dissolves so much of the resistance. The beliefs that you're a victim, or that this should not have happened. Maybe not that it should have, but should not have, but like that you wish it didn't, or whatever. Just resistant, wishing for something else. It's like all of that dissolves in this belief. And I cried hard. It was amazing, dude. It was like, I just kept crying. I couldn't stop, nor did I want to. I didn't try. I mean, it's not that I wanted to keep crying. I just kept allowing it, and it kept happening. And yeah, it's same thing too, where she stayed in the chair and she just let me cry. It was magical. And man, in the soul perspective, everything feels so great. And everything kind of like becomes possible, because you're not restricted to just like concepts that you have been taught, or, like even like death, or like the idea of just being this particular instance, just this person in this body, and then you die and you're done. It's like in the soul space, it's like, yeah, dude. happy to be a part of it. It just feels so amazing, man. And it also, it's not just what has happened, it's what will happen. Imagine going into every experience in life feeling like and knowing that it's for you. What's that like? Well, I've just recently been experiencing it, and I'll tell you, in my experience, it is brilliant. It's just a non-resisted reality. Doesn't mean that there aren't things that, I'm working on and I'm actively looking to change and heal from. It just means that everything is perfect. And we're all right where we are meant to be. And it's coming up. These emotions are coming up because you're ready to feel them. And the more I feel, the better I feel. That is for sure. The more I feel, the better I feel. So yeah, that was a lot of the trip. That was a lot of the trip. Oh, I'd have this written here too. To love is to be out of control. Oh shit! I was thinking we wrote that in terms of loving each other in a relationship and not controlling the other person and stuff. And that is totally true. But also in the context of the levitation sequence, like to love is to be out of control, to allow yourself to not control how you are perceived, to just levitate in the room knowing that I'm feeling love and I'm going to keep feeling this love no matter how many people look at me, no matter what people think about me for putting my hands up and closing my eyes in my living room. No matter what, dude, I'm going to keep feeling love. And feel free to, anyone who's perceiving you negatively or judging you or all this stuff, it's like, hey, man, feel free to levitate instead. If you feel so inclined, highly recommend it. I'm not going to stop levitating because there's people who are on the ground that are judging me for levitating. Just going to keep levitating, dude. No more coming back. No more stopping levitation out of fear of being perceived for levitating. Yeah. To love is to be out of control. And man, releasing control is like, it's ultimate. Ultimate feelings. So, yeah, I hope that, thank you guys for listening. What are we at here? 41 minutes? Cool. Wow, how lucky I am to be able to talk about all this stuff with you. I know I say this often, and I just really mean it. Thank you for being here. It's so cool that you are. And I hope that you love every part of yourself. And if you don't yet, you keep cultivating it. Because I don't think there's any end to the love. I think the love is infinite, and it just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And lighter and lighter and lighter. Yeah. All right. See you guys in the next one. Peace. Oh, should I play a little outro song? What have I been listening to? Oh, yeah. This is called The Color of Nothing by Ford. And we were listening to this at the very end of the trip, and we're just like, holy cow. I'm gonna have to turn it up, huh? See you later.